This morning, a layman came to me, expressing a desire not to be reborn. He said, "I don't want to be born again." To not be reborn, one must truly see suffering. When we perceive suffering and flaws of human existence, the mind becomes disenchanted and it then detaches itself. Like when we see sufferings and disadvantages in sensual pleasures, the mind grows weary of them and aspires to a higher state, like the Brahma realm. Therefore, as long as one has not seen suffering, one continues to be in the cycle of birth and death. Even if one desires not to be reborn, one will still be, as the wisdom is not yet sufficient. We can let go of things if we see them as flawed, impermanent, suffering and non-self. Once we cling to them or have a desire for them, they will lead us to suffering. Therefore, without seeing suffering, we cannot release or let go of them. Once, someone asked Luangpu Ted, "I want to let go of sensual pleasures, yet my mind is still attached to them." Luangpu exclaimed, "Well, if you're still attached, then you can't let go. You must see the harm in it." Those of you who wish to reach Dhamma and be free from suffering and the cycle of birth and death, you must be aware of the suffering and the harm within the cycle of existence. Just as you see a stray dog struggling, and you then make merit and wish to never be reborn as a dog, that might lead you to be reborn as something else. Therefore, you must see the harm and danger in the cycle of existence, realizing that each birth brings suffering. Such insight is necessary to stop rebirth entirely. However, we don't need to go that far initially. We can practice to attain the basic stage of Dhamma, then later reach stream enera. Becoming a stream enera is significant, a major, a more challenging matter than becoming an enlightened one. As very few ordinary individuals reach stream eneras, yet every stream enera will, one day, inevitably become an enlightened one. Thus, the real difficulty lies in attaining a stream enera. Be determined to observe the precepts with strength and determination. Lord Buddha has taught us to be willing to sacrifice material wealth to protect our body. Like when we are ill, we may need to spend money on doctors to cure ourselves from more severe consequences, like losing a limb. Likewise, we may need to sacrifice a part of the body to preserve life, such as amputating a leg if it becomes infected and untreatable, to prevent death. He also taught that one should be willing to sacrifice life itself to preserve Dhamma. Dhamma practice begins with observing precepts, as keeping the precepts is the foundation of Dhamma practice. Therefore, you must be resilient. No matter what happens, do not compromise your precepts. Be brave enough to make sacrifices here. At first, it may not come easily. Just start by giving up things that are easy to relinquish, like donating money or making merit. Are these good acts? If so, then good. Furthermore, focus on observing the precepts. You don't need to observe many. Just focus on the 5 basic precepts. Be dedicated to refraining from the 5 harmful actions of body and speech. Begin practicing Dhamma by cultivating virtue in body and speech, and then work on the mind with concentration and wisdom. Some people think that practicing Dhamma only means doing sitting meditation or walking meditation, but they neglect to observe the precepts. This is not true Dhamma practice, but a mistake. We should strive to observe the precepts the best we can. If we are strong enough to uphold them even at the cost of our lives, this is considered the highest form of spiritual perfection, the ultimate level of merit, truly profound and noble. There's an old story about a farmer who lived in China with his wife and his child. During years of drought, farming became impossible, and people struggled to find food. Many resorted to hunting animals and fishing to survive. But this man was determined to keep his precepts. He refused to break them, even to the point of starving. Even though his child, who he loved deeply, would eventually die from hunger, he still would not compromise his precepts. He was willing to sacrifice everything to uphold them, refusing to trade his precepts for any benefit. Such strength and courage represent the highest level of spiritual perfection. This may sound challenging, but you all too should strive to observe the precepts as best you can, gradually and steadily. The cycle of existence is long and endless. Yet, if your spiritual virtues are strong enough, you can transcend it. While your spiritual virtues are still developing, observe the 5 precepts with strong determination. Living in the world can make keeping precepts challenging. In the past, when I was a young government official, or during the time I was a university student, seniors or supervisors would often invite me to consume alcoholic drinks. It was difficult to refuse as a junior. Not drinking set you apart and could make you feel excluded from the group. It took a lot of mindfulness and wisdom to maintain my precepts while blending in. I would join them in other ways, like when they drink, I just eat snacks. I collaborated with them on work so as not to seem disconnected. Observing the precepts perfectly as a layperson is indeed very challenging. Some people interpret the precepts in a particular way. When I was a student and ordained as a monk, there was a monk's hut that someone had left dirty, and ants had infested the bathroom. A newly ordained monk asked his mentor, "There are so many ants in the bathroom, what should I do?" The mentor replied, We observe the precepts, but we should do so wisely. Set your intention to simply bathe. If the ants die, that's their karma. His response showed a lack of true effort to mindfully observe the precepts. To handle it wisely, the first step would be to go bathe elsewhere temporarily. Then thoroughly clean the monk's hut. Having meals in the designated eating area and avoiding bringing food back to the monk's hut. Without food, the ants won't come. Keep the space clean, and those hungry ants looking for food will go elsewhere. The ants will only invade the monk's hut when there is food available. To truly observe the precepts, we must consider carefully what approach to take. Once, when I went to give a sermon in the south, they assigned a monk's hut for both myself and Pra-Ajahn. In the evening, many laymen came, bringing various offerings of refreshments, and later left them in the monk's hut. That night, black ants swarmed the monk's hut, on the bed, on the walls, on the floor, everywhere all over the place. I barely slept, sitting still and enduring it. What could I do? It wasn't my place, and if I moved all the refreshments people had offered to another spot, they might feel disheartened. So I endured it patiently. That was practicing endurance. To observe the precepts, one must be strong, be patient, and be reflective. This is true Dharma practice. Practicing Dharma should not be thought of as merely sitting meditation or walking meditation. It starts with giving and observing the precepts. Practicing Dharma encompasses all following Lord Buddha's teachings. That is practicing Dharma. Giving alms or donation must be done in a way that is sustainable, not causing trouble to one's own self or causing oneself to retreat later that giving was not done correctly. Observing precepts requires strength, mindfulness, and wisdom. Practicing meditation also requires understanding the principles of practice. Most people often fail in meditation because they follow others without truly understanding the fundamental principles. When you see others sitting and inhaling and exhaling, you then join in, without really understanding why focusing on the breathing. You end up just tiring yourself out, controlling your breath too much, and getting exhausted or even dozing off. Some might secretly let their minds wander elsewhere while breathing. They see others sitting in meditation 4 hours and think they can sit like that too. Yet they end up being lost in their own thoughts, just passing the time. In the eye of an observer who doesn't know better, it might seem impressive. They admire that this person is so dedicated to sitting meditation for as long as the monks, but they're only following the outward form, just the posture, while their mind drifts away. That's not true Dharma practice. It's just like putting on an act, merely pretending for others to see. Some people do walking meditation gracefully, yet their minds wander elsewhere. Somehow they walk or sit in meditation with tension and strain. That's just torturing oneself. That's not Dharma practice. Practicing Dharma requires mindfulness. Without mindfulness, it's not true practice. When there is mindfulness, awareness of body and mind, that's true practice. Even if you're walking in a shopping mall, if you're mindful of your body and mind, you're practicing. being in a temple, doing sitting meditation or walking meditation, but letting your mind wander or focusing too intensely on parts of the body, like the breath, hands, feet, or stomach, without mindfulness. That's not Dharma practice. It's just restlessness and self-suppression. Simply giving alms, observing precepts, or practicing meditation alone will not lead you to transcend the world, nor to enter the supramundane, or achieve the stage of the stream enterer. To become a stream enterer, one must progress to cultivating wisdom, to truly see the reality of form and mind. This is the understanding of suffering. Simply put, suffering is our own body and mind. When we have a body, we suffer because of it. When we have a mind, we suffer because of it. If there were no body, there would be no suffering from the body. Should there be no mind, some think there would be no suffering from the mind. They then seek to develop deep concentration, to reach a Brahma-like state of pure existence without mind. But when concentration fades, the mind reappears, bringing back suffering. People who strive to avoid rebirth have various perspectives. Some believed that not being reborn means never returning as a human or an animal, but instead attaining eternal life with God. Some Buddhists think that by performing enough good deeds and acquiring merits, they'll achieve eternal life with Lord Buddha. But why should we think that we'll go live with God, or Lord Buddha, or dwell in some realm of nirvana? This kind of thinking is still that of an ordinary person, because it still involves a sense of self, a desire to hold on to our identity and cling to it. When it is time that the body is near to death, some wish for the self to go to a place of happiness, to be with God or with Lord Buddha. Sometimes they wonder what nirvana is like. But an enlightened one does not contemplate what nirvana is like. If one still conceptualizes nirvana, then one does not yet truly know it. Nirvana is a state beyond all fabrication, a state where desire has ceased. It is a condition devoid of both physical and mental phenomena, where both form and mind are relinquished and entirely returned to the world. Those who are still attached, their minds cling to the sense of self. They are often so afraid of losing themselves. They imagine that even after death, their self will still exist. If they do good, they'll go to heaven. If they do wrong, they'll go to hell. If they do exceptionally well, they'll join Lord Buddha. This kind of thought is filled with desire to exist, to have, to be. With this desire, one cannot be free. One cannot transcend the world. The term transcending the world is a high one. To be above the world, or what we call supramundane, has many levels. To truly be free from rebirth, one must be completely liberated, fully free from attachment to all physical and mental phenomena, especially the attachment to the mind itself. If one no longer clings to the body, yet one still holds on to the mind, then that attachment can still lead to rebirth. It can still lead us onward into a new form or a new existence. If the mind is detached from the body but still exists, it may rise to the Brahma realm as a bodiless being. Therefore, to transcend the cycle of birth and death, one must cultivate wisdom to be able to see suffering clearly and profoundly. How can one truly see suffering? This is no small matter. It's difficult to grasp. Most people detest suffering. Lord Buddha teaches us to know suffering. Suffering is the 5 aggregates of form and mind, our body and mind. We are meant to know our body and mind. We detest suffering. We don't want to think about it. We only want to think about things that bring happiness. By nature, people tend to flee from suffering. They don't have the courage to face it, to truly understand it. This is a significant reason why noble beings are so rare. The world lacks noble beings, as most people fear and hate suffering, and are constantly trying to avoid it. To escape from suffering is to flee from the truth, as suffering is a fundamental truth. It's not an ordinary truth, but an ultimate truth, or the noble truth. This is the truth that makes a person a noble one. A truth that all noble ones understand. Noble beings realize suffering as a profound truth, and enlightened ones fully comprehend it in its entirety. It is the truth that transforms an ordinary person into a noble one. Therefore, the truth about suffering is an extremely important matter. We must truly learn to understand it. The way to learn about suffering, if the mind is still too fragile to look at suffering within ourselves, then begin by observing the world around us. Everything in this world teaches us to see suffering, if we look closely. Even a sky train can show us suffering. Observe how it runs, and sometimes a wheel might fall off, and this too is suffering. Trees also experience suffering. When it's time, they shed leaves, and the leaves wither and fall away. Both living and non-living things display suffering for us. They arise and extinguish, showing us the pressure and impermanence which are present in all things. Gradually observe and see suffering around. If you're not yet ready to look within yourselves, look at the people you know. Can you see? That person has passed away. This person also passed away. That person is in the hospital. Another has delivered a child. When we visit someone who's just given birth, our attention is usually on the baby, rarely considering how much pain the mother endured. Why is that? We don't want to know about suffering. We don't want to see it. Nevertheless, the baby itself proclaims suffering upon birth. Have you ever seen a baby born laughing? They all come into the world crying. If a newborn doesn't cry, the doctor will hold it by the feet, hang it upside down, and give it a few taps until it cries. We are born with a cry. Our first sound is a cry. A proclamation that suffering has arrived, that suffering has now been born. We don't want this. We don't notice this in ourselves at birth, because as infants, we are unaware. We then can observe it in others. When someone else gives birth, we see the suffering involved. The newborn arrives and immediately announces its suffering. From then on, it continues to suffer. A baby lies there, waits itself, lies in its own urine or excrement, and cries again. It's just crying and crying day and night. Anyone who has children will understand this. I don't have one myself, but I've learned by reading and observing. I chose not to have children, because I realized that possessing my own 5 aggregates is already enough suffering. I had a wife that would make 10 aggregates, more suffering. And if I had children, I'd be taking on even more aggregates to care for. Better not to. Yet, today, I have many children, thousands, even tens of thousands. This one is my child, and so is that one. This person calls me Luangpu, which is still acceptable. Yet some call me Luangpu. In worldly terms, when someone calls you uncle, it stings. A man goes to the hospital, and the nurse asks, "What's wrong, uncle? Where does it hurt?" And the pain isn't just physical. It hurts to be called uncle. Because he can't bear the signs of aging, it's suffering. A child is born into suffering, unable to take care of itself. When it's cold, it cries. When it's hot, it cries. When it's hungry, it cries. When it is in need to relieve itself, it cries. It's always crying, constantly expressing suffering, yet we think nothing of it. We even say, that's just how babies are. We consider it normal and we accept it. Wisdom hasn't yet matured the point to realize that it is common that very birth brings suffering. This is the reality of things. It's as natural as becoming an enlightened one. It's that simple. As the child grows, it starts to crawl and walk. But sometimes it stumbles, scrapes its knees, hurts its hands, and some even bump their heads. More suffering arises. As children grow and start school, they experience separation from their parents and from home, and spend their time at school. On the first day of school, you'll often see children crying everywhere. Can you see? They experience suffering just from starting kindergarten. When it's nap time, the teacher directs them to sleep, but they don't want to and are forced to. That's suffering again, their desires repressed. If we observe carefully, it's suffering all the way through. Keep being aware and you will see. As they grow older, they face more challenges where to study, whether they'll be able to get into a good school or university. So many burdens. After graduating, they worrying about how to make a living or whether to continue relying on their parents. Nowadays, so many Thai people aren't very industrious to make a living. Some don't take education seriously, and after finishing high school, they go to work in factories. Still, many even work inconsistently, sometimes working, sometimes quitting, causing disruption. Employers then turn to hiring foreign workers because many Thais won't take the jobs seriously. This issue is similar to that in developed countries, where locals are less inclined to work. When asked what they do, they often reply they're doing freelance job, which may sound impressive, but if you ask further, you'll find it depends entirely on whether someone hires them. Only if they possess skills, they'll get hired. These days, can you see? Suffering is everywhere. Making a living has become difficult. Even if we're doing well in business, things can suddenly change. They might just build a motorway passing your place. Take Nongmon Market, for example, a place that had thrived for decades, ever since after the war, with only Sukhumvit Road connecting it. When new highways were built, people bypassed Nongmon Market entirely, heading straight to Bangsan. Previously, everyone had to pass through Nongmon, but now with roads like Khao Lam, they just skip over it. Many areas that once flourished economically have now declined and can no longer sustain business. What once provided a livelihood may no longer do so after a while. People who used to make a living by buying and selling local produce now struggle as cheaper foreign goods are transported by train and flood the market. Making a living has become increasingly difficult. Some people work their whole lives, taking great care, only to be tricked by scammers. Just a few clicks and suddenly all their lifetime savings are gone in a flash. Suffering is everywhere. Look closely, and you'll see an aging population everywhere. Soon, we'll see more elderly people being neglected with no one to care for. We can already see a trend. Parents raise their children, but when the children grow up, they move away for work, leaving the parents by themselves. When one parent passes, the other is left alone. If they have some money, they can still manage by hiring help, but without money, or if they've been scammed, life becomes very hard. In the future, we'll see many elderly people collecting garbage or doing similar work just to survive. Take a look at the so-called superpower countries. In their subways, it's often filthy and unsanitary, full of homeless people sleeping everywhere. On the surface, these countries appear prosperous. But just go underground, and you'll see hidden truth and hidden suffering everywhere. One day, we might face the same reality when we grow old, lose our strength, and can no longer take care of ourselves. Our children and grandchildren may not be there to help. It's a life filled with suffering. Abandoned elderly people are much like dogs left by their owners, wandering each day in search of something to eat. Is the world truly a pleasant place to live? Just look around. No need to even mention people falling ill or passing away. The suffering that awaits us is vast and overwhelming. Is this world genuinely delightful? For those who are lost in illusion, perhaps it seems so. But for the wise, this world holds nothing but suffering. If we don't yet have the courage to look within ourselves, just observing the broader world, you will see that it reveals nothing but suffering. If our minds are strong enough to turn and look inward, we can examine our own bodies and ask whether this so-called happiness is really true happiness. Often, people come to me saying, "May you live a long life, up to 120 years, and be a refuge for us." That's modest. I thought they'd at least wish for 150 years. Just joking. But in reality, even at 70-something, I already feel worn out. When people wish for their masters to live a long life, they should look closely whether it truly is out of love for the teacher or it is because they care about themselves, wanting the teacher's guidance for as long as possible. It's like the behavior of children who never grow up, expecting their parents to live on so they can continue relying on them. During old age, suffering increases. Everything becomes difficult, and every movement risks strain or injury. If we maintain mindfulness of the body, we'll see that this body is full of suffering from head to toe. Just look at the care the body requires. Washing, trimming, styling, dyeing, and so on. Hair alone demands constant attention, combing, conditioning, and more. Monks have it easy in this regard. Lord Buddha is wise. He specifies the monk's hairstyle to be simple and requires no grooming products, dyes, or electric combs, nothing at all. Comfortable and free from the burden. Whatever we have brings suffering because of it. Just having hair means suffering because of hair. From head to toe, hidden suffering is present, requiring us to tend to it constantly. Our bodies are full of suffering, impurities, and many hidden unattractiveness. There is inherent decay. And every day we experience a piece of death bit by bit. If we were hit by a car, we would die suddenly, but otherwise, we die slowly over time. Observing our bodies, we see lots of burdens. They require constant care from the minute we wake up until time we sleep. Why do we need to sleep? Because the body suffers, and it needs rest to recover. Even the need for sleep stems from suffering. If the body were truly happy, we wouldn't need to waste time sleeping. But instead, there is suffering. Why do we need to bathe? Because the body suffers. It gets hot. It smells. It feels uncomfortable, and it harbors germs. Just maintaining our own bodies involves endless tasks. If we keep observing, we'll see the suffering within the body. If we can't urinate, that's suffering, right? If we urinate too frequently or dribble all day, that's suffering too. Can't have a bowel movement, that's suffering. Can't stop going, also suffering. It's all suffering. If you don't believe it, try interviewing your grandparents. Ask your grandparents if they have fun. Each day goes by. Do they feel happy? They need to lie down, to go anywhere by a wheelchair. They can't eat what they want because of health conditions and are afflicted with one illness or another. Thus, life is filled with countless forms of suffering. While we are young and still have the strength to run away from suffering, we get carried away, lost in pleasures. But as we age and lose the energy to flee, suffering catches up, relentlessly pressing upon us and revealing the truth. This body is nothing but suffering. And in our minds, if we observe closely, we'll see that suffering arises there too. Whenever desire arises, the mind struggles and writhes, and every time it does, suffering arises. Keep observing and keep being aware. At first, we'll notice the more rough, unrefined states, like anger. Most people, when angry, are unaware that they're angry. They only know that someone else has made them angry, projecting outward. But as practitioners, we begin to turn our attention inward, observing our body and mind. We see that someone spoke poorly, and our mind feels angry. We recognize that our mind is angry. This shift to observing our own mind begins. And every time anger arises, does it feel pleasant or unpleasant? Clearly, it's suffering. So, those who are quick to anger have a hidden blessing, because every time they get angry, there's suffering in their mind for them to observe. People who feel happy may experience desire and feel happy, which makes it difficult to see. Anger is an easier defilement to recognize because its suffering and harm are more obvious. Desire, on the other hand, is harder to abandon because the suffering and harm it causes are subtle. When the mind is influenced by desire, it can sometimes feel pleasurable. For example, when we see a beautiful flower, our mind feels attracted, yet we only notice the flower, not the desire in our mind. Through practice, we can start to see, oh, my mind is now fond of this flower. Observing this, we realize that our mind was previously neutral, but now it has shifted. It's no longer calm, desire has arisen. Desire is something that pierces the heart, making it restless. For instance, we might want a particular flower and think, where can I buy one? Or even feel tempted to pick someone else's. This craving arises because we fail to recognize the greed and desire within our own minds. Greed and desire are similar in the way that they pull us toward an object or experience, wanting to draw it closer. Anger, on the other hand, pushes the temperament away, rejecting or repelling them. Delusion causes the mind to spin, turning this way and that, unable to grasp anything clearly. Anger is a defilement with significant consequences. It can lead to extreme actions, such as taking another's life, or even taking the life of one's parents, resulting in severe karma. However, it is relatively easier to let go of, because its harm and suffering are more apparent. Desire, on the other hand, generally has less visible harm, unless it becomes intense, and leads to actions like assault or coercion, where the consequences become more severe. In ordinary cases, desire has minimal harm. For example, sitting in the heat and then feeling a cool breeze brings comfort and pleasure. This is already a desire. But is it harmful? Not really. It doesn't really involve breaking any precepts. Therefore, desire has relatively mild consequences, which makes it difficult to let go of. We find it hard to see its suffering and harm, and thus don't feel compelled to let it go. When desire arises, it often brings pleasure, and no one thinks about abandoning it. Instead, they just want to indulge in it longer. Desire is less harmful because it typically doesn't disturb others, but it's hard to abandon precisely because it's subtle and difficult to perceive. Delusion, however, has the most harm and is the hardest to let go of, making it the master of all defilements. Anger has severe consequences but is easier to let go of. Desire has mild consequences but is harder to let go of. Delusion has severe consequences and is the hardest to abandon. Gradually practice. First work on the more obvious defilements. Over time, the mind may become lost in delusion, scattered, thinking here and there. It's harder to recognize delusion, but with continual mindfulness practice, We become aware the moment the mind strays. Eventually, we'll see that when the mind is lost, there is suffering and harm, while an awakened, alert mind is far better. We continue practicing, observing deeper levels. At first we begin with seeing the more obvious defilements and later move towards the refined ones. In practicing, as we observe the mind with increasing refinement, we eventually reach a subtle state where only a flickering sensation remains at the center of the chest. When the eye sees a form, there is a subtle stirring in the chest. When the ear hears a sound, when the nose smells, the tongue tastes, the body feels touch, or the mind encounters a thought, it then responds with a faint movement in the middle of the chest. Some may perceive it as a swirling sensation, others as a subtle flickering. At this stage, our mindfulness is very sharp, and our concentration very strong, allowing us to perceive this state. This is where Luangpu Pramote said, true Dharma arises in the center of the chest. True Dharma arises in this very center of the chest, where wholesome and unwholesome states emerge, as well as the path and its fruits. In the scriptures, this place is called heart, yet it's not located in the physical heart, but in the center or the core. It arises from the core. Like when our eyes see something, we don't yet know what it is, and the mind remains neutral, in equanimity. But once we interpret it, oh, it's a beautiful flower, the mind stirs, and a subtle movement arises. When we perceive this is beautiful, desire springs up from that center. If our mindfulness is sharp, we see these mental states arise, and they immediately disappear. If our mindfulness is slow, the arising defilement like desire then takes over, influencing our thoughts, words, and actions under their control. When we first see something, the mind remains neutral. Then, as there is an interpretation, this is my enemy, someone who took my daughter away. Then anger arises. Initially, there's just a subtle stirring, a slight movement. We still don't know what happened. Then anger emerges from that emptiness. This movement grows into a coarser state, bringing forth desire, anger, and delusion. If we recognize it quickly, it dissolves. But if we're slow to notice, it overwhelms us, taking control, governing our thoughts, speech, and actions entirely. Have you ever heard the phrase blood boiling? When someone is so angry, their face flushes, and they can feel the heat rising to their head and their face. When desire is strong, it's really visible. A person looks lustful, and you can spot it immediately. You might look at someone and think, this guy is lustful, without even knowing his name. His face reveals it all. This is the defilements at work, taking over to the point where they dominate the mind. If we observe continuously, we'll notice a subtle flickering sensation. This is the refined level of mental formations. When these formations grow coarser, they become desire, anger, or delusion, as well as states of pleasure or suffering. Refined mental formations are difficult to define. We observe something arising and then extinguishing, something arising, flickering, and then extinguishing. By repeatedly witnessing this process, what do we see? Some people begin to see that all formations are impermanent. Originally it wasn't there before, then it arises, and then disappears. Others may see this as suffering. It flickers, then enters meditative attainment, and into deep concentration. There's still a subtle flickering, yet slowly and steadily. With fine mindfulness, one can perceive suffering across the three realms of existence, realizing that no matter where the mind resides, in any realm, there is nothing but suffering. Nothing arises, exists, or extinguishes apart from suffering. So, by observing this continuous flickering, we come to see suffering. When suffering intensifies, mindfulness may begin to sway. When this happens, how can we prevent from losing stability? The answer is to return to calm meditation. When practicing insight meditation, don't push forward without pause. As soon as the mind starts to feel even slightly fatigued, cease the insight practice and return to tranquility. Focusing on the meditation objects you're comfortable with. For example, focus on inhaling Bud, exhaling Do, or observe the body's movements. Allow the mind to rest in tranquility, letting go of insight practice temporarily. Once the mind is recharged, continue with insight meditation again. You will see that apart from suffering, nothing arises, exists, or extinguishes. When the mind sees deeply enough to recognize that the mind itself is the source of suffering, it realizes that across all three realms of existence, there is no place of true rest. There is no location where one can be happy without suffering. As long as there is a mind, that mind is suffering. Therefore, no matter where the mind is reborn, whichever realms at all, it brings suffering with it. Every birth is suffering. This teaching is the most direct and straightforward. We may imagine otherwise due to not fully perceiving reality. Once we see clearly, we'll understand that, with every arising, suffering inevitably follows. What is birth? Birth is the arising of the initial consciousness, the first moment of a mind that arises within any realm of existence. When that first mind arises, suffering has already begun. We must practice until we see deeply that this very mind is the source of suffering. Once we understand this, we can let go of attachment to the mind, leaving nowhere to go. There's no need to ask, where do we go after death? Or where does an enlightened one go after nirvana? If one still thinks about going somewhere, it means there is still attachment to the mind, a desire for it to be reborn in a favorable place. Therefore, practice and keep observing suffering. In time, we will see it. At first, we notice suffering in the external world, then in the body, and then in the mind. Initially, we only see it roughly. We feel that the mind has a desire. If that desire is fulfilled, there is no suffering. If not, there is suffering. This level of understanding isn't very profound. Next, we come to see that each time the mind has a desire, suffering arises along with it. This is a higher level. Eventually, we see that when there is a mind, there is suffering. This is a different level altogether, representing the highest wisdom. When there is a mind, there are aggregates, and thus suffering is inherent. When the mind truly becomes disenchanted with the aggregates, it realizes that there is no place to go in the three realms, as wherever it goes, there will either be body and mind or, at the very least, the mind, and therefore, only suffering. This is the path to transcending the world, escaping the round of rebirth, freeing oneself from suffering, and ending the cycle of birth and death. This is the path. That's all for today. Exactly 45 minutes. Number 1.
Number 1. When practicing mindfulness of breathing and observing bodily movements, I notice my breath naturally, without force. I observe the body's movements and see the mind moving around. I can't quite keep up with the mind that arises, I only become aware of it after it extinguishes. I understand the three characteristics as they truly are. Am I practicing correctly?
Correct. You will observe the mind only in retrospect. When anger arises in the mind, then it extinguishes, and then there is awareness of that anger. The mind recognizes that it was angry just now. However, if the body is moving, the awareness of the body is in the present. The mind connects with the present moment. That is called present continuity. When anger arises, there is no mindfulness at that moment, so you cannot know it in real time. Once it passes, you later recognize that anger, but the mind that was angry has already extinguished, and a new mind arises. The same applies to greed and delusion. Some people say they can observe anger as separate from the mind. This indicates the yet to be refined meditation. They can separate greed from the mind, but not yet delusion. This means much more practice is needed. What you're practicing is fine. However, there is still a mistake. Right now, your mind is not correct. Do you notice that your mind is focusing too much? Trying to keep it steady. Let go of that. Why focus when it's so tiring? Smile sweetly, as if 5 people just told you they love you at once. See how the mind starts to move. Just now, it drifted to a quick thought. This is the normal state of mind. Then you can practice calmness with a natural mind. Those who practice meditation but never feel calm often do so with a mind full of craving. Or some even get frustrated with themselves, thinking why they can't feel calm. That's practicing with an angry mind, so it won't be calm. Practice with a natural mind. Assign a meditation object, a home base that you are familiar with. Over time, calmness will arise on its own. Remember where it is right. This is correct. But don't try to force it. Every time you try, it's wrong. Even the thought of trying is already a mistake. Just be aware of the mind's fabrications. Whatever it fabricates, simply be aware. Then you'll be in harmony, without fabricating anything. Just be a knower. Number 2.
Number 2. I chant, practice walking meditation, and sitting meditation every day. Naturally, I am an overthinking person. I often rehash thoughts, reflect, and worry, especially as my worldly work involves management and constant planning. Throughout the day, I observe my body movements and practice in a format. I observe only perceptions, mental formations, and feelings arising. I feel that there is no progress. Could you please recommend a meditation practice that suits my temperament?
What you're doing already shows progress. Don't be in a hurry. Keep practicing continually. What you're doing is fine. If you push too hard, things will become chaotic and lead to agitation. Continue practicing the way you do. You're doing it correctly. The mind will gradually accumulate correct understanding and right knowledge, step by step. Don't rush. Keep going. You're practicing correctly. Number 1, you're still stuck in fabricating the mind to be still. This is where you need to correct. If you can't fix this, you'll remain stuck here. Should you pass away in this stage, you will be reborn as a Brahma, tasked with guarding a hotel. They'll set up a pavilion for you and regularly feed you with hard-boiled eggs. So, no, back your mind out and be an ordinary human. The best kind of mind is a human's mind, as human means one with a noble mind. Therefore, the human mind is the best for practicing Dhamma, even better than the mind of a celestial being. Number 2, don't stress yourself out. Number 2, you are making too much effort. Just keep feeling the body, feel it moves. Notice the mind changing, just feel it. Keep being aware and don't forcefully control it all at once like that. That's exhausting as it's driven by craving. Number 3.
Number 3. During the day, I discreetly observe the mind. I see perceptions and thoughts as they arise and extinguish. I feel the intense emotions have lessened. When practicing in a format, the mind seems to choose its own preferred temperament. I see the mind entering and exiting concentration by itself, beyond my control. Sometimes, it reaches jhana, taking emptiness as its home base, and after a while, it returns to receive other temperaments by itself. I observe the mind arising and extinguishing on its own, but there is still me. Am I truly seeing correctly?
Yes, you are seeing it, but it's still not enough. Enter jhana and let me see. Will you? Go ahead, forget about me entirely. Number 4.
Number 4. I observe the 5 precepts and, when possible, the 8 precepts. When practicing in a format, I focus on chanting and cultivating loving kindness. I still interfere with the mind, though less than before. I still have a quick temper and tend to judge others. Yet, I now see the suffering and drawbacks of these actions more clearly. During the day, my mindfulness is limited. The mind is still restless and not neutral. I'm not sure if my practice is too lenient. Could you please advise?
Your practice is good. Just keep practicing consistently. Whenever you have time, practice. Keep being mindful. What you've practiced is quite good. There's already progress. Your mind is no longer the same as before. Good. Number 5.
Number 5. I practice in a format by walking meditation every day. During the day, I observe bodily movements. Yet, I still do so too intentionally. As awareness doesn't arise on its own, I feel that the mind lacks upright concentration. Could you provide guidance on what needs to be adjusted?
No need to adjust anything, just make it consistent. What you're doing is good. It's not wrong. Keep the mind in a natural state, without too much strain. Continue your practice steadily. It's like planting a tree. We dig the soil, plant the tree, and then water and fertilize it regularly. In time, the tree will naturally bear flowers and fruits. Don't try to rush it, or the tree might die. Number 6. Number 5. You're good. Number 6.
Number 6. I practice calmness meditation by using a visual imagery, along with breathing and chanting a mantra. When the mind becomes restless or wanders, I observe it, and then focus on the 4 formless states until I feel satisfied. Then, I withdraw and practice the 4 foundations of mindfulness, observing whichever is clear to me. Through this, I've come to see that body, feeling, and mind are distinct elements, and my suffering has greatly reduced. Greed and anger no longer trouble me. But I am still attached to sensual pleasure and delicious food. Kindly offer some guidance.
Keep practicing more. Continue until you see the suffering and drawbacks clearly. Only when you truly see lust as harmful and as suffering will you be able to let go. Show me your practice with the totality, will you? Number 7.
Number 7. I practice sitting meditation, focusing on the rising and falling of the abdomen. However, my mindfulness is weak, and I often drift off or become drowsy and distracted. As a result, I can't sit alone, but I need to listen to Luangpu's teachings while meditating. I've tried to increase my walking meditation, because I feel more mindful that way. When observing the mind, I notice it frequently fabricates stress, worry, and unwholesome thoughts almost constantly. How should I adjust my practice?
You're practicing correctly. Keep going steadily, accumulating gradually. You've already practiced well. It's not wrong, and will keep improving over time. You've made good progress, and your mind is much more at ease now. There's a mistake here. Good. When I spotted your mistake, you realized it. Again, your mind drifts. Can you see when the mind drifts into focusing too intently? It drifts into seeing. When observing a state, don't just be aware of the state itself. If you have enough strength, also be aware of the mind. When the mind drifts into the meditation object, be aware. When it drifts elsewhere, be aware too. Keep practicing. Number 8.
Number 8. One day while practicing insight meditation, my mind experiences and understands the phrase, seeing that everything is just as it is, without me or them. The sensations that contact the sense base are known directly through the mind. The other day, I felt like my mind exploded. It felt really loud and everything extinguished. After that, the mind became in a concentrated state and practiced wisdom. When there's a temperament, I was aware. I could see my mind in a greater detail. Can you please advise if there is anything I need to adjust?
No need to change anything. What you're doing is already correct and good. Just continue as you are, and suffering will gradually decrease. Then the mind will detach more and more from the world. You're practicing well. Also, keep an eye on this. As time passes, does the sense of self still return? If it doesn't, that's good. If it does, then continue practicing. Don't be discouraged. I will not tell you exactly what to you, as you need to see it for yourself. This approach is excellent. Number 6. Withdraw the mind a bit. At the beginning of practicing with the totality, things are fine. But after a while, delusion creeps in, and you lose awareness. Don't let go of mindfulness. When practicing, keep the mind steady at this level. If it goes too deep and becomes stagnant, sitting quietly without energy, that's not good. It can become habitual. This kind of mind is fine. Do you understand? Earlier, it went too deep, almost like leaning back against a tree. Number 3. Just pull back a bit. When you practice concentration, don't force yourself to be still or to be calm. Just be aware naturally, using the ordinary human mind for a meditation. Be aware of your body and mind. The mind will be a knower and radiant. Even when it enters formless states, the mind still remains aware of itself, without thoughts, but also without losing self-awareness. Number 6. You tend to go too deep, and then it drains your energy, like leaning back against a tree. Number 3. Delusion sneaks in during meditation. Can you see it? That's what you need to watch out for. Sitting meditation itself isn't bad. But if mindfulness is weak, then meditation can turn into delusion. A delusion concentration. This delusion-based concentration makes you lazy and unmotivated without any real benefit. It doesn't lead to insight. So, don't let go of self-awareness. Number 6 as well. Your mindfulness is a bit weak. When mindfulness is weak, that's when visions of images arises. That's all for today's Dharma talk.